Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, El Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kudash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of great, most honorable well. And shalom to the whole full elect. This is by your Allah. This is News and Prophecy News Update. The date today is the 27th of May, 2025. The hopeful year of death, destruction, and judgment. Alright, so I got this article from the Sun.com. The headline reads, Parade Horror. 4 kids among 47 injured after white British man 53 plowed car into Liverpool football club parade as cops rule out terror. Alright, so this is obviously in nature a terrorist attack, right? But for some reason they've ruled out terror, alright? But we'll see what happens as the plot thickens. But yeah, this just is in the spirit of the times that we're in, alright? The love of many waxing cold. The world moving into a time like never seen before. The temperature basically has to go in, has to become so cold, alright? As the great Timberland says on the track, that's a lot, man. I'm being playful, just a bit of tongue in cheek. But no, like the temperature at the times is basically at all-time low, alright? And you can see that these type of events happening the world over. The last time you heard of this, the big one was over in New Orleans. We had, bodies dotted on the all over the ground. And then prior to that, you had one being spoke of, a blip of a one in the UK on Oxford Street, one of the busiest road in Europe, alright, shopping district in Europe. So, yeah, you excuse me, man. So basically, this is, a sign of the times, more proving of our faith that we have to be attentive to the return of our Lord, alright? And there's a bit more to this, which I'll unravel as time, I'll take this opportunity to unravel. But let's go into this article. So it says, emergency crews arrived to find people lying injured in the road and some trapped under the car. Okay, 4 children were among the 50 people injured when a car plowed full throttle into a crowd of fans celebrating Liverpool FC's victory parade. A 53-year-old white British man from Liverpool was arrested at the scene and is thought to have been the driver of the car, police say. Alright? So you can see this is the aftermath of it all. Fans react on the roadside following the incident. Alright. So it says, Liverpool parade horror. Several injured after car plows into fans at victory parade. So you can see the direction of the attack being shown here. Alright. Full Galaxy is like a people carrier, so it's quite hefty, got some weight to it. So it says, what we know so far, a car collided with multiple pedestrians when it drove into a crowd on Water Street, Liverpool city centre. The incident happened just after 6 p.m. as Liverpool FC's, I'm just going to say Liverpool from now on, alright, because we know we're talking about football. Liverpool's victory parade was coming to an end. Police have arrested a 53-year-old white British man from Liverpool who they believe to be the driver. The incident is not being treated as terror-related, and the police are not looking for anyone else. 4 children were among 27 people taken to hospital and 20 treated at the scene. Alright? Right. So it says some 27 injured people were rushed to 4 hospitals, 2 with serious injuries, and 20 were treated at the scene, with more patients presenting later on. The Northwest Ambulance Service said Merseyside police said the incident is not being treated as terror related, and they are not looking for anyone else in their investigation. Emergency services, including an air ambulance, swarmed to Water Street in the city centre after receiving calls at 6:07 p.m., just as the parade was coming to an end. Fire crews arrived to find 4 people trapped under the vehicle, including a child, and worked quickly to free them. The car, a dark grey Ford Galaxy, hurtled into a dense crowd decked out in footy strips. Footage posted online appears to show the vehicle accelerating and making a sharp turn right into the milling vans. Numerous people are thrown to the sides, and some fall beneath the rampaging vehicle. After pushing through dozens of pedestrians over the course of around 20 meters, the car came to a stop and the driver was arrested at the scene. Witnesses reported that nearby onlookers rushed the vehicle, battering it and smashing through the windows. Police then had to fight back furious civilians who were trying to get at the suspect in the back of the police van. An air ambulance whizzed to the scene and landed near the Liver building, and numerous police cars, ambulances, and fire engines lined Water Street. And it's funny because I recently watched this documentary on Netflix dealing with the Boston bombing, and they deal with the whole, unraveling, limited series, 3 episodes, where they basically break down the events that what happened, then they cover what led up to it and the aftermath. And this is to that same tune in a sense, except it's not a bombing, but it was ramming by way of car. So as the Northwest Ambulance Service announced, the road has been cleared just before 9:30 p.m., but an inflatable tent remained into the night. Merseyside police are leading the investigation and were initially supported by counter-terrorism police. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said, "The scenes in Liverpool are appalling. My thoughts are with all those injured or affected." He later praised the remarkable bravery shown by the emergency services in Liverpool and added, "Everyone, especially children, should be able to celebrate their heroes without this horror." Right. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper described the scenes as truly shocking and thanked the emergency services for their swift response. Alright, so let's read about these experiences people had with this. So reading on, it says Daniel Jones, 28, was on Water Street celebrating when a van ploughed through the crowd only a few feet away from him. He told The Sun, "Luckily my wife had just gone up to the hotel with my 3-year-old son. I dread to think what would have happened if they hadn't done that. I was horrified. I was scared. There were paramedics on their hands and knees treating wounded people. It was horrifying. It was a horrifying scene." Alright. He added that as soon as the car stopped, those who had not been hit crowded the vehicle. A civil engineer, Daniel, had travelled from North Wales with his wife Zoe and their young son, to celebrate Liverpool's win. Merseyside police asked people to avoid speculating on the circumstances surrounding tonight's incident on Water Street in Liverpool city centre. The force added, "We would ask people not to share distressing content online, but to send the footage or information directly to us at Mersey, I guess that's at Merpol CC, or pass on information by calling 101, quoting log 784, blah 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 blah." Haley, 42, from Liverpool, told The Sun, "It's shocking. It's just so sad. I'd only gone into town because we have a son who's autistic, and we were getting him some music equipment and seeing family. This car just went erratic, and I could hear everyone screaming. Everyone assumed it was a terrorist attack. We didn't know how the car got onto Water Street. It should never have been there. He went full throttle into the crowd. I was terrified. I was with my disabled son. There was there were people rolling off the car and going under the tires. I reckon he knocked down about 40 people." Witness Natasha Rinaldi, who was watching the parade from her friend's living room, told Sky News, "It was so loud, people sounded desperate. And then we looked out the window and we saw the car had run over people. The people started rushing to go after the driver, and they tried to break the car. The police did everything to block and to push the people away. We could just hear screams and screams. We were very confused." Peter Jones, 44, from the Isle of Man, attended the parade and described the incident as shocking. He said, "We were walking up Water Street, thousands around us. Right? We heard a frantic beeping ahead. A car flew past me and my mate. People were chasing it and trying to stop him. Windows smashed at the back. He then drove into people. Police and medics run past us, and people were being treated on the side of the road. There were a lot of people. There were a lot injured. We heard it behind us hit the crowds. Then we saw half a dozen people injured in the road as we were walking up. It was shocking. We were back at our hotel now. We are back at our hotel now in a bit of shock." Harry Rashid, 48, from Solihull, was at the parade with his wife and 2 young daughters when he witnessed the collision. So you can see a lot of distress, a lot of people feeling away. So let's read a little bit of this. Liverpool FC released the following statement on Monday evening. "We are in direct contact with Merseyside police regarding the incident on Water Street, which happened towards the end of the trophy parade early this evening. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who had been affected by this serious incident. We will continue to offer our full support." Alright, so now, as you can see, there's a parade and everything. So now, what's a bit deep about this is this ain't the first time something horrific has been tied to Liverpool. Alright, now we're gonna go to, go to this. Alright, it wasn't specifically in Liverpool, but it's something that's so heavily tied to Liverpool. Alright, that they always mention it. I've watched various documentaries appear on the BBC due to it. And that's really just to show you how big this disaster is. And this is to build up upon, more tidbits of information as to bring this to a head. So this is the Hillsborough disaster. The Hillsborough disaster was a fatal crowd crush at a football match in Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield, South Yorkshire, England, on the 15th of April 1989. It occurred during the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. The two standing only central pens within the Leppings Lane stand allocated to Liverpool supporters. Shortly before kickoff, police match commander David Duckenfield ordered exit gate 3C to be opened an exempt in an exempt sorry in an attempt to ease crowding, which led to an influx of supporters entering the pens. This resulted in overcrowding of those pens and the fatal crush, and to a total of 97 fatalities and 766 injuries. The disaster is the deadliest in British sporting history. 94 people died on the day. One more died in hospital days later. Tony Bland died in 1993, and in 2021, Andrew Devine, the 97th person, died. Both Bland and Devine had suffered irreversible brain damage on the day. The match was abandoned and replayed at Old Trafford in Manchester on the 7th of May 1989. Liverpool won and went on to win the season's FA Cup. Alright, so now this is the other thing. I didn't have the video to hand, but I'm going to plug it in via the description, because basically what it is Liverpool. I'm not a football man like that, because Liverpool have won the league. They've won a couple titles, but basically there's been a curse on them. That's like what, if you see the pundits, what they talk about as far as Liverpool, they say there's a curse on the team because they've been just losing and losing and losing. All right, and it's something that I'm gonna attach a clip, and it's basically gonna show a guy actually talking about doing judge for like, which is the slang term we use out here, or I use personally, which is basically short for juju, which is another way of saying voodoo, hoodoo, that type of stuff. Alright, or obia, which basically is witchcraft, the left hand side. So they said that in the video, the clip, which I'll attach, it's a Zimbabwean witch doctor basically put a curse on Liverpool, which the individual speaking about it says he reversed it in order for them to win. And there's also another clip that basically goes into the only way they can win is when they, like, there's certain stipulations as to when they've won the league. So it just shows you there's a heavy burden. Now this goes obviously back to, if anyone's in the know, Liverpool had a heavy slave presence, all right? A heavy presence during the time of transatlantic slavery, all right? And I'm sure that has a major part to play, because what does it tell you in the book of Numbers 35 and 33, which I'll quickly read. So I'll read a couple scriptures to relay that point, to just get the point out. So this is Numbers 35 and 33. It says, "So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it." Alright? So blood is something that defiles the land. If you shed blood in the land, it needs to be cleansed of that blood. Alright? So let's build upon that point with this scripture here. It's the book of Ezekiel 35 and 5. It reads, "Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time of their iniquity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee." Alright? So this is from Wikipedia under Liverpool slave trade. It reads, "Liverpool, a port city in northwest England, was involved in a transatlantic slave trade. The trade developed in the 18th century as Liverpool slave traders were able to supply fabric to Manchester, from Manchester to the Caribbean islands at very competitive prices." Right, so let's look into the history a little bit. On the 1st of December 1699, a successful tobacco and sugar merchant, William Clayton, owner of the ship Liverpool Merchant, sent his ship to Africa where the captain William Webster brought a number of enslaved Africans, which we know are Hebrews, right, pursuant to the curses written in the book of Deuteronomy 28, chapter 220, was sold in Barbados. This is thought to be first known to be the first known ship to sail from Liverpool to transport slaves to the New World. Another Liverpool vessel, the Blessing, set sail in 1700. Over the next 30 years, Liverpool grew rapidly. The growth in shipping out of Liverpool began to increase slowly over the next 30 to 40 years, with ties to the American colonies firmly established by 1700. Merchants were transporting sugar and tobacco from the colonies. Liverpool was transformed from not much more than a fishing village due to an extensive rise in manufacturing of textiles, iron, and firearms, and gunpowder. In the years of growth, Liverpool goods were being exported from the Liverpool port with first commercial. In the years of growth, Liverpool goods were being exported from the Liverpool port, with first commercial wet dock being built in 1715, and by 1730 there were 15 Liverpool slave ships headed toward Africa, where the goods manufactured in Liverpool were exchanged for slaves. Now this is why when you deal with Liverpool, it's a hub within itself, alright? You have, when you go into, if you do your Googles, I'll try and pull up the clips because there's various clips I've seen. I know I got them saved somewhere, but I'd have to do some digging. But it basically shows you that the lineage of so-called black people, the tribes being down there, goes beyond that of the Windrush generation, which is the predominant generation as far as which people always point to as far as Jake being prominent within the UK, alright. But prior to that, due to slavery and the slave trade and and the port city of Liverpool, you have a great amassing of Jake from there, from America, from Africa, from different parts of Europe, Middle East, what have you. There's a great, it's like a melting pot over there due to that. But then all of them have got Scouser accents, alright? So they all sound like, a Liverpoolian, alright, Scouser. So, reading on, so it says, from the mid-1740s, Liverpool was the largest slave trading port in Britain, overtaking Bristol by 1750. Overtaking Bristol. By 1750, Liverpool was the preeminent slave trading port in Great Britain. Thereafter, Liverpool's control of the industry continued to grow. In the prior between, and mind you, dealing with, it spoke about having connections to the colonies, alright, dealing with the US. And that's the main, like Liverpool today is basically, it's a fucking, it's not naughty, it's a dangerous place, man. In terms of a criminal underbelly, it's where, like it said, gun, firearms or gunpowder, has a history of that. That place is like a mixing pot for crime. You have a lot of Irish crime families that leave Ireland, they land over in Liverpool, then head up to Manchester. So it's just one of those kind of places. And even going back to the point I was gonna say, that's one of the main ways. I'm sure I'll do the research, but I'm quite certain, I'm somewhat sure that would have been the main way that the Irish was getting over to the New World, alright, during that time, because Liverpool is right next to Ireland, and they all come over there, alright, like a back and forth kind of thing. So reading on, it says, in the period of between 1793 and 1807, when the slave trade was abolished, Liverpool accounted for 84.7% of all slave voyages, with London accounted for 12% and Bristol 3.3%, showing you how heavy the trade was down there. Alright, so you can only imagine how much blood is over in that place, man. Alright, after 1780, the Liverpool slave trade reached its height, and there was no shortage of docking facilities at the port of Liverpool. The local government, the Liverpool Corporation, was unusual for its time because of its financial strength, and it invested £1 million in 6 new docks during the 18th century. Liverpool's docks were also used for shipbuilding. They built 26% of the total UK shipping involved in the slave trade, a total of 2,120 ships between 1701 and 1810. In comparison, the next two biggest slave ports, London and Bristol, combined built less than half the slave ships built in Liverpool. Now, mind you, to just show you, I'm not too sure about Bristol, but I've been down to Bristol, and the first thing when I read about it saying it overtook Bristol, I was like, oh, okay, so that's why they had, because I remember when I was on the strip, there's a big boat right on the coast, right nearby in Bristol. So I never knew that. But dealing with London, the other place, Lord willing, I think I went down there, but I've mentioned it a couple of times because I've been there. I went there as part of something I was doing. But you got like I forget the name. It's is it a Tate Museum? I can't remember. But there's a museum by the docks that I went there, and they basically got into the slave trade. So basically, the stock market was built off of the slave trade down there in the Docklands, and that's right by like the Isle of Dogs down there in the East End. All right. So, which is local to where I grew up. So, you know, that's basically a big banking district today, known, which is part of Canary Wharf, Billingsgate Market, which Billingsgate Market goes into fishing, like it's a market you go to in the morning or any time of day to get fish. Like all the fishermen bring their fish there. You get exotic fish down there. So the reason why I'm saying that, of course, is because it's built around the port, all right? And that banking district, which you see, the Docklands, which is known today, which any high flyer is running down there to basically, live up in them high rises, them apartments, them penthouses, was built off the back of slavery, all right? But then Liverpool was really crushing it during that time, all right? Liverpool's growth as a slave trade port was caused by locational advantages, which makes the most sense because London, basically, you'd have to go east, then go underneath the UK through the south into the Atlantic, whereas Liverpool, I believe, you can just go up over Ireland, which is probably going to describe it, up over Ireland, I'd assume, and straight into the Atlantic. It's a bit quicker. So it says, in a time of war, Bristol and London ships would have to sail closer to mainland Europe before making a crossing to North America, and the West Indies. Like I said, in contrast, Liverpool ships could sail north of Ireland, there you go, like I said, after leaving the port. And it's kind of tucked away because you got Ireland in the way. So I'm sure they would see you coming around, and it gives you a little bit of a slight advantage in that sense. Well, if you was coming from the Americas anyway. A second advantage was Liverpool's close association with the nearby Isle of Man. Until 1765, the island had been taxed. You know what? I just realized I'm getting all into this. I don't know if I've got any memory on my phone. All right, but you can definitely, check it out. Liverpool's slave traders brought captives across West Africa. However, they specialized in the Bight of Biafra, which is where the Igbo people come from, the Hebos, all right, or Hebrews, all right, which is east of the Niger River, all right, and then you have the Yoruba and the Bight of Benin on the west of the Niger River, all right, and West Africa. From 1740 to 1810, they took 427,000 people from the Bight of Biafra and 1,900 97,000 of the West Central Africa. So there you go, man. Yeah, they're doing a lot. Alright, Liverpool traders maintain a close relationship with African trading chiefs and developed a network of African contacts. Liverpool specialized in their delivery areas. It sold 391,000 enslaved people to Jamaica alone between 1741 and 1810, and in the same period 85,000 enslaved people to Barbados. They were dominant in most slave markets except Chesapeake, where Bristol remained the biggest exporter. So yeah, there you go. So let's read this, man, and we'll close out. It's the book of Sirach 39 and 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of them that made them. Fire and hell and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and a sword punishing the wicked to destruction. They shall rejoice in his commandment. They shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. So the Most High is getting active, man. Alright? And this is why you're seeing events like this unfold. The information will come out as far as to what extent these things happen. But as you can see, it's another day where the judgment of the Heavenly Father has gone forth and has left many miserable. Alright? And there's more of this coming. Alright? Because it's the time. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Shalom. Shalom.